Okay, welcome everybody to the talk. It's going to be a talk on ML or AI in industry or practice. So before I go into much detail, I want to ask you this question is what do you think is AI? So maybe you can reply in the chat box or you can speak. So
Yeah, anyone have any thoughts, you can type it in the chat.
we throw these words around AI, ML, and so on. So maybe some idea of what they mean. Brian is saying AI is the mimicking of human intelligence. Rushi, very simple. AI is a computer that can take data. You say, okay. Rushi and okay, take data and make decisions upon it. Okay. So those are good answers. Let me also tell you a little bit. I don't give you booky answer. So let me give you some details. So AI, as you're right, is a field that provides intelligence to a machine. So it's like AI is, broadly speaking, it is gives intelligence to a machine. So that's a pretty broad term, gives intelligence or reasoning power to a machine. So that's kind of a basic high level view of what it is. AI itself has several subcomponents to it. So if you look up the Wikipedia definition, you will see that machine learning is a subset of AI. Reinforcement learning is also a subset of AI. Data mining is also a subset of AI. So AI is the broad umbrella within which ML, RL, DM, maybe a couple of more things, you can say deep learning, and a couple of more things are under that big umbrella of AI. So AI is something that you gives reasoning power or intelligence to a machine, and it can do a specific job for us. So and we can train it to do a specific job for us. So where do you use AI in your daily life? So I want to make it interactive, not just me speaking. So Alexa, okay. Rushu is saying Alexa. Anyone? And Rami is saying Google. Okay. Can you be more specific? I know that you use Alexa, Google, but what does it do for you? Or what kind of intelligence do they have? In the morning when trying to plan my day, I ask my phone to give me the weather. Okay. I'm not sure of the exact wording. Soham is saying determine what web page I want to read. YouTube when it tries to find suggested video. Brian, yeah, that's a very close answer, and I was kind of looking for somebody to say that. So, okay, I have one more answer. So let me read that. Recognizes voice input and translate into languages to answer a query. Okay, Soham, good. So AI is a broad term and you have to break it down into specific part to say what it is. So AI, for example, some of you have been giving definitions of AI or applications or examples of AI. For example, Brian says it is recommender systems. He talked about recommender systems. For example, he mentioned the example of YouTube. So YouTube looks at your previous data and recommends me items that might be interesting to me. So that's part of ML, actually, recommender systems. um, there are other examples of machine learning, which is, for example, I tell, based on previous data, I predict tomorrow's weather. So I predict the weather. So the predict is the keyword. If I simply read the weather, that's probably not learning. When I predict something, so ML, machine learning, is kind of teaching the machine to learn a specific task. AI gives intelligence to the machine. ML is teaching the machine to learn a specific task. To learn a specific task based on what? Based on previous data. So I need some sort of a previous data for ML to work. For example, like Brian said, I need your past history to recommend you new movies. I need to have some past previous weather data to tell you what will tomorrow's weather be like. Similarly, I could say, okay, if I need to predict house price, I need to have some previous data. What previous data? Um, previous statistics of house features and price. So I need to have some previous information for me to predict the unknown. So I need to have that. That's kind of machine learning, and it's a sub branch of AI. And machine learning looks at previous data and tries to predict something. So prediction is the key thing. Machine learning, you teach the machine to learn based on previous data, and it predicts something unknown. So some people, if you look in the textbooks or Wikipedia, they say using known to predict unknown, using known data to predict unknown. That is the kind of the classic example or classic definition, using known to predict unknown. It doesn't have to be house data, it doesn't have to be other type of data. It could be as simple as looking at students features or looking at student data and trying to predict what grade they will have. So I'm going to look at my previous students, and maybe something like, I keep track of previous students GPA, when they enter my class, the number of hours studied, etc., etc., and classes attended. And based on previous data, I know whether the student got A, B, or C. So I have historical data, also known as training data. So I know that somebody who comes to my class with 3.5 GPA, studies 6 hours a week, and attends 90% of the classes, gets an A grade. So I can make a model based on this historical data, and then there will be a test data. Somebody has come to my class, they have 3.8 GPA, but they study only 1 hour a week and they attend only 20% of the classes. So based on this, I can predict whether what grade they will get. So this is test data, and I can try to predict. So machine learning is a branch which uses previous known data to predict unknown data. That's kind of ML. The second branch of AI is called reinforcement learning, which is in itself a very interesting field. So what is reinforcement learning? So ML, we know we are trying to study branches of AI. ML, we know what it is: teaching the machine to learn a very specific task based on previous data, and based on previous historical data, I will predict something very specific. Now, AI also has another component which is called reinforcement learning, becoming very popular these days. Is there is no historical data. So I have no historical previous data, or I wouldn't say no, very little previous historical data. There is an agent, and the agent is given at least two things. It is given the valid steps that it can take, and for each step, it I can tell it the reward or punishment. So for every step, I can tell the agent reward or punishment. So based on this two data, which is valid steps, reward, punishment, it will find the optimum answer. For example, a classic thing is given in reinforcement learning is there is a maze here, and there is a mouse here, and the mouse has to reach this cell. Now, every time, and the valid motions or valid steps are north, south, northeast here, but northeast, uh, west, and south. Every time the agent hits the wall, it has to pay -1 unit of penalty. Every time it takes a step, does not hit the wall, it has to pay a penalty of 0.5. When it reaches this position, then it will get a penalty, a reward of 5.0. So how can the agent maximize the reward? Let's say 10.0. Let's, because we have made this high, so let's say 10.0. So this is if hits the wall. This is if it takes a step but does not hit the wall. So every time the mouse moves some other cell, it will pay a reward of -0.5. Now I let the mouse explore, or the agent explore the environment and figure out. Did my screen just go blank, or?
I think it. Oh, it's back now.
Okay. Okay, so that is reinforcement learning. Now, I know you guys have come here to understand the industrial applications of AI, but this is a background, and I'm not going to spend more time on the background. If you want more information about this, please come and take my classes. So that's what I would suggest you to do. So the second branch is kind of more of a, where if you have, maybe if you want to train an agent to play chess. So in fact, we will talk about this. There is a company called IBM, and it came up with the idea of Deep Blue. Anybody heard of this Deep Blue project, where it trained an agent to play chess? And when it trained the agent to play chess, um, it defeated the reigning champion at that time, who was Gary Kasparov. So it kind of was watching videos, it was doing a bunch of other things, and then it defeated Gary Kasparov. So reinforcement learning has again become very popular. Especially, we have a field called deep reinforcement learning, where we combine deep learning plus reinforcement to form deep reinforcement learning. So, I mean, they're used in a wide variety of situations. For example, Google could use that, some other agent could use that. So second branch is called reinforcement learning. The third and fourth branches, I'm not going to talk too much about them. So data mining and deep learning. So data mining is this: I give data to the agent, and the agent mines the data, and I tell the machine, or I'll tell the machine or agent to tell me something that I do not know already. So tell the machine that I don't know something, tell me something that I do not already know. So I'm not going to ask the machine to just predict something or predict a very specific thing. I'm going to say, okay, uh, tell me, is there an outlier in the data? Tell me if there is something groups, like similar groups of data. So tell me that. Tell me if you can figure out certain rules from the data. So rules could be, what do I mean by rules? Rules could be, if bread and butter, or this is just made up thing, if bread plus butter, if somebody buys bread and butter at a supermarket, they are 80% likely to buy chips. And don't verify this is just made up. So that's kind of tell me something new, data mining. Normal people or laymen, which are people who haven't taken courses or who are kind of, they call it finding a needle in a haystack. So it's like, tell me something that I don't know, tell me this. Now the last part of AI is called deep learning. And what is deep learning? It is learning deeper into data. So I know that sounds obvious, deeper into data. And basically that also means the machine does feature engineering by itself. So machine does not just um, data analysis, but it does feature engineering by itself. So that's a classic thing, and you need to kind of take my course if you want to know more. But as an example, suppose I show 5 images of a person. So I show to the machine, I have 10 people, and I show 5 images each of 10 people. So 10 people, I show 5 images each. Now I'm not telling the machine what features to look for. I'm not saying to the machine, look at their eyes. The eyes could be one of the features. Look at their hair. That could be one of the features. I'm really bad with drawing. Look at some other part of their face. That could be their feature. If I were to sit down and tell the machine, look into, find their eyes, look at the color of their eyes, look at the color of their hair, look at, I don't know, whether they have straight teeth or not, look into all that, and then identify each of the people, that's going to be a pain to do, having to do all that manually. That's kind of whether they wear glasses or not. That for me is going to be a pain, right? Whether they have I don't know, some other thing. So feature engineering does feature discovery by itself. Especially if you have something called, if you're looking at image data. So if you're looking at image data and I tell the machine to, based on the images, I have given it 10 images, like I have given 10 landscapes. So I could give the Google satellite images. I could say, here is, I don't know, here's a mountain. Here are 10 examples of mountains. So this is mountain and 10 examples of mountains. I don't really give any feature. In machine learning, I have to give it the feature, like house, number of bedrooms, area, etc. I give 10 pictures of mountains, 10 pictures of, I don't know, something else like river, and so on. And then the machine will automatically do feature engineering, which is find whatever is the critical factor in mountains, rivers, etc., and then it will identify some new things. So feature engineering done by the machine automatically is deep learning. Plus, it's very broad definition that I gave it, but there are more details and I kind of skipped some of the details, but that's basically what it is. Does anyone have any question? So we have talked about 4 types of AI. AI is an umbrella term. You use AI generically, but you have to be more specific. What are you telling the agent to do? AI in a general sense means giving intelligence to an agent. So there is an intelligence, I'm giving it, or there is an agent, I'm giving it intelligence, or I'm getting it to be a smart agent. It could be by teaching some new idea and having the machine predict unknown, having the machine or the agent explore its environment and tell me what's the best way to do something. Telling the agent to say, find a needle in a haystack, find me something that I don't know already. And the fourth is kind of deep learning, is related to learning, but in plain machine learning, I have this. In plain machine learning, I have to specify the features. So suppose plain machine learning, this is ML, I have to do feature discovery. So for example, X is a house. This is X is the features of a house. So I need to tell to the machine that the first feature is the house size. Second feature is the number of bedrooms. Third feature is the living area. Fourth feature is the zip code, etc. And so I have to tell the machine the features that are important, and the machine will correlate the features to the price. So if you tell the machine that, just do automatic feature engineering, that would be kind of difficult. So for machine learning, I have to tell the features. Deep learning kind of does that automatically. So generally deep learning is for image data, video data, etc., etc. So that's kind of the thing that goes on. So I hope I'm making some sort of a sense to you guys. I have not lost you. Okay. So we have learned what is AI, ML, data mining. Now let's go to the applications. And applications would be looking at various companies and seeing what they do. Specifically, like, are they doing natural language processing, etc. So there are some fields that could be combination of AI with other fields. Like, I could have something called NLP, natural language processing, which has become very popular. So what is NLP? Well, NLP is AI applied to text data. So people do this is AI plus application to text data. They have fields like natural language processing, which could say, okay, based on previous data, figure out here is a sentence, and based on the sentence, extract nouns. So the machine already has previous data, like it has data and it has like, this is a noun, this is an adjective, this is an adverb, etc., etc. I have already given examples to the machine. Now this is a test data. The machine identifies what nouns are, what are the nouns. A classic example which we have become bored with is teach the machine sentiment. So this is the review, and the sentiment could be positive, negative. So I train the machine and it is applied to the text data, and I'm telling it because we will see some companies that do that. AI or ML, whatever you want to call it, applied to textual data. So it's like, as I told you, one example could be review, text of the review, and how it correlates to the emotion. Positive emotion, negative emotion, which I have gotten so bored of looking at projects that are positive, negative emotion, that I tell my students, especially grad ones, that please don't do this project, positive, negative emotion one, because we are all bored with this. So do something different. If you want to do NLP, try to do something like, is the statement or is the text a factual one, or is it emotional one, or is it expressing somebody's personal opinion? So try to get this sort of information. Positive, negative, we have done that a lot. Another thing you could do with text, and I'm going to show you that, and Facebook does that actually, is taking text and figuring out whether the text is it a fake news or is it a fake item. So I'm like, for example, Facebook not automatically tags items as truthful or fake. Even Facebook and Twitter both do that, and many companies are doing that, which is they are looking at the previous data and tagging false information. So all that also comes under AI plus some specifics of text data, NLP. Okay, so after having spoken all that, let's go ahead and look at the slides. And this will be ML in practice. And if I overshoot the time, please let me know. Okay, anybody was saying something? So this presentation will be about review of companies that use AI to enhance business. There are certain companies, and this is from this book right here. Some content is taken in. So there are certain trailblazing companies which are pioneers and leaders in the field. They analyze how AI can be used to extract value from data. So this is, what companies are looking for. They are not looking for theoretical stuff. That's what academicians do. The companies are using AI to extract value from data. So all the companies have data. The data could be pharmaceutical data. The data could be house data. The data could be, whether a vaccine is successful or not. So how to extract value from the data and apply innovative uses, or apply AI in innovative uses. So much of my content is taken from this book, so I'm quoting it here. Certain companies are trailblazing companies. You can call them pioneers in their field because they use AI in very creative and inspiring ways. So trailblazing companies, and starting with a company called Alibaba. Anyone know what Alibaba does? So it just, Alibaba doesn't come first by, it's like alphabetical. So Alibaba, what does it do? Shopping similar to Amazon, e-commerce. Okay, good. So how does it apply AI? Well, it operates the world's largest e-commerce network. Their global sales dwarf Amazon and eBay combined. So, that's kind of Alibaba. It is largest e-commerce in terms of revenue. And I think, if I'm not wrong, it is China based, but I could be wrong. And they use AI for the following: helping customers find items by building a custom page view for every visitor. So they have a custom page view for every visitor. That is different from Amazon, etc., because Amazon just shows you a generic view, and maybe it adds something at the top, based on your previous history. But Alibaba gives you a complete, your own personal page. It monitors customer action in real time. So real time means, I'm having an AI that responds in real time, that doesn't take too long to respond. A real time response. Modeling customer behavior. So it tries to model customer behavior by using reinforcement learning. So it's like I throw out an agent into a web page or into Alibaba, and the agent will take actions on its own. So maybe I can tell it that compare the prices to others. So the agent could be given Alibaba prices, and it could be given competitors prices, and then it will see whether the item sold by Alibaba, does it have enough features as compared to other items. How about the price? How about other things? And the agent will use reinforcement learning to predict customer behaviors. Like, I have an agent, it's acting like a customer. There is also a chat bot which is answering users question. This is a classic NLP approach, which is the chat bot will learn to behave like a human, and it's a combination of text knowledge as well as machine learning, because the machine learning or the chat bot will look at previous knowledge, and it will try to discover or try to answer human questions. It will also try to respond to questions in a human like way. So that's chatbot. Alibaba does that a lot. Some other applications, it can use NLP, natural language processing, to automatically come up with description of items. It's known as content generation. So it's kind of cool thing is you upload item, somebody uploads an item. For example, it could be user selling an item, and you upload it, and the NLP automatically comes up with a basic description of the item. So it says, okay, you uploaded this picture, these are the features that automatically have been discovered, and you can add something more to it if you wanted, but the features have been already entered. So it's like, you on eBay or some other place, you go there, you have to type a long description. Here Alibaba already grabs some description for you. So it also has smart cities project, which is cloud based tools for city management, like discovering traffic, discovering if there is an accident somewhere, etc. Farming and research and development through its cloud services. Those are some of the things that Alibaba does. Smart cities project is very interesting. Smart farming, and if you notice, all these companies, they have certain components, like its core bread and butter business is e-commerce. It's also trying to use AI and ML in other side businesses, which are smart city project, cloud services, NLP to have description of item, chat box, etc. Those are some of the new things that it is going into. Second thing is Alphabet and Google. Alphabet is the parent company of Google. If you do not know that, Google has a super company called Alphabet. So Alphabet is like a umbrella. Within Alphabet, there are Google and other such subsidiaries. So that's kind of Alphabet and Google. It's like a parent company with interest in web search, internet technology, life sciences, etc. So Alphabet, has interests in not just web search but life sciences, etc., etc. Google, which is the most famous product of Alphabet, it uses search engine, or Google search engine uses advanced NLP for inferring users query from search term. It's kind of interesting thing. So inferring users query from search term. So for example, if I write pizza on Google, it's going to kind of infer what I mean. So it could say, I could say pizza now, just making it up. So that it would infer it means I want to eat pizza now, and it would display pizza places near me. Just made that up. So you can do that. Inferring users query, that's kind of a big thing. And it also has these things called question answer systems. If you have recently, or it happened like 3-4 years ago, it's like if you search for AI, or if you search for applications of application AI, it's going to display question answer type of a stuff for you. What is AI used for? And you can expand it to see the answer. What are the applications of AI? So it's going to do that. So it's going to infer more details from my search term. It also does image and reverse image search. So if you haven't done that, try to do that, which is trying to do reverse image search. So upload an image, and it's going to tell you what could be this image of, and try uploading your picture and see if Google can identify you. What are you trying to, whose picture is it? So again, moving forward, I think I want to go a little bit faster because I've crossed half an hour. So there's a lot of NLP, especially in Google. Image and reverse engine search, sorting, filtering, ranking of results is crucial. and they are heavily in other technologies, other internet technologies, personal assistants, language translation, text summarization. So that's a big thing at Google, which is reading a text and summarizing it as if the human is summarizing it. So we have reached the chatbot stage where chatbot can reply to questions just like a human being. Now we are also headed for this thing called summarization, in which it can summarize stuff just like a human would. Self-driving cars, disease diagnostic, you know that self-driving cars, if you go to California, you will see sometimes cars, especially Bay Area, you'll see cars without a driver. So that's kind of, you might notice that if you go there. Some people told me that it happens in DFW also. So I'm not sure if you have seen a driverless car in DFW. If you have, let me know, because I haven't seen a driverless car here yet. Okay, so if you know, if you have seen it, let me know. If you have not, that's fine. I haven't seen one, but somebody, you know, I read some news item that they have this. Okay, moving on. So these are some AI applications at Alphabet and Google. Amazon, which is, you know, Amazon, the big thing, the big monster Amazon. It pioneered the concept of recommender systems or recommender engine. This is a key thing to notice right here. The modern approach to recommender systems was pioneered by Amazon. So Amazon has a lot of neat things, like it does two type of recommendations, and if you take a class under me, you know, we'll go into more details, but right now I can tell you that it does two type of recommendation: personalized and generic. Personalized and generic, two type of recommendations. Personalized means tailored for you. Generalized, I don't know why it is generation, it's generalized. Generalized recommendation means somebody who bought this book also bought this book and also this book. So these three books are commonly bought together. So that kind of is called generalized. So it pioneered this. It also incorporates deep learning into recommendation. So it can detect item frequently bought together. That's what I said, frequent pattern mining, which is if you buy this, people in the past who bought this also bought this. They also have AI powered robots, fulfillment center, Alexa, AWS. I'm not sure if it is here, but you know, they said that they have drones for delivering Amazon items. So I don't know if you guys ever had a delivery with a drone. Anybody received a delivery with a drone? They said, I mean, I don't know. I
I've
haven't,
never,
so you know, I haven't.
oh, yeah, I've never received delivery with the drone, but I remember like it's a project that some like people I know from senior design projects have been working on. So
Okay, so Maitri is saying, you know, it's not yet, but it could be. I don't know when, but it could be. So AI and ML, some of them look futuristic, and some of them are practical. So yeah, think of the drone and self-driving cars. I'm not going to go more detail, but Google has discovered that self-driving cars on California freeways, they drive overly slow. It's like, you know, somebody behind that car will be irritated because they, like, you know, they have to turn right, they stop, the camera turns left, right, or the camera, you know, has takes some time, and then they turn. So in that time, the human behind them would get bored, might start honking also. So okay, going next, Apple, which we all like, world's largest IT company by revenue, is vision. Their vision is to have handheld devices that can gather data and run ML algorithms in real time. For example, health application, facial detection, login. Health is a big push by Apple, so they are designing all these Apple watches or whatever, and they can in real time monitor a person's health, telemedicine, etc., etc. So they can measure blood pressure in real time and keep a log of person's blood pressure, other such things, pulse rate, etc., etc. And maybe even their steps. So that's common, steps walked, etc. Smarter apps, NLP using Siri, etc. So that's kind of Apple is using AI in a big way. um, Facial detection, they are using AI for new iPad, where they're trying to say, okay, if somebody writes on the iPad, what are they trying to write? So a lot of things are Apple. Baidu, anybody heard of Baidu? It operates the largest search engine in China. It is using AI for image searching, maps, videos, news, and translation services. More AI in the autonomous car driving project, mobile AI, and translation. So translation is another application of natural language processing. So NLP is a hot area these days. So translation means if I give it an English sentence, can you translate that into a French or a Chinese sentence, human readable, so that it doesn't break the syntax and it's human readable. So there are two things, not just translation, but translation that is just like a human would translate. Facebook obviously is one of the classic examples. They use AI engine, FB learner flow, that's their technology, to personalize users' news feed and home pages. Content filtering, facial recognition, understanding text and emotion, suicide prevention. So fake news thing is a pretty much in the news these days, and I'm not going to talk politics, but if you share something that is not in agreement with the with others or with common news, etc., it is going to tag that item. Again, there are various things, like which users are close to you. Trying to, if you have an image posted, trying to figure out, that's a common thing, like automatic tagging of the image, like I have 4 friends in my image, so automatic tagging of that, that's classic thing that Facebook is doing. um, Understanding text emotions, that is classic application of Facebook. Where what is IBM doing? IBM is the granddaddy. I mean, it was around when Google wasn't around, Facebook wasn't around, grand old daddy of computing. There is this IBM Watson project, and there was a lot of things. If you search online, there was IBM Watson. It won against a Jeopardy, all the contestants on Jeopardy. So that's IBM Watson. It can be used as a question a engine, chat box, other such things. Watson can be used to automate highlights and enhance fan engagement. They have also trained IBM Watson or their agent to debate humans on complex subjects. And also there was this Gary Kasparov, it defeated Gary Kasparov. That's also a classic thing. So all these are example of reinforcement learning plus traditional learning to get this to work. So IBM Watson. There is a JD.com. It's one of the largest retailers in China, which include a drone delivery system, autonomous delivery vehicles, robot automated fulfillment center, allows customers to make purchase simply by picking up item in the store. So picking up items in the store, smart consumer goods, smart fridge, etc. So this is, if you've been to China, then this type of company does. You can allow make purchases by simply picking up items, so you don't have to go to a checkout lane. Simply pick up the items and it is going to give you the total. So you go out the door, before going out the door you make a payment, you're done. I think some other stores did that in the US. I don't know if you've seen this in US, automatic checkout. Let me know, but I have not seen that in any place in the US. So JD.com. Microsoft kind of lagged behind in the AI ML area. It was the traditional thing. They made their revenue from operating systems, and they were kind of easy going on the AI technology. Now they have democratized AI. They give tips, suggestion, recommendations, and Cortana, etc., etc. So they were kind of late and trend into the AI field. So they have Azure Services. It offers pre-built machine learning solution. And somebody, I think, in one of the workshops at UTD was showing machine learning just by drag and drop. So this is one of the things that it can do. If you don't want to do machine learning, don't want to take a course, you can drag and drop and create house prediction systems, etc. Automatic website from design, face API, etc. So Microsoft. Okay, I hope I don't go over time. I had 1 hour and I want to take questions also. So Microsoft, Tencent, another company, successful Chinese gaming social media company. They have a WeChat application. They are a leader in face recognition technologies used as a government ID, video games, etc. Tencent, and we are not going to cover that, but that's kind of the big players in technology. And sometimes these are also known by the acronym FANG. Anybody heard of what these are? FANG. What are FANG companies? MFANG. Okay. Nishant is saying some are Facebook, Apple, Amazon, Netflix. Okay, you missed one of them. You said MFANG. So MFANG means you missed one of them. Anyway, so FANG is the thing, and a lot of UTD grads get hired at FANG companies. So that's kind of something you should look for. Now, I'm sorry, I just left 10 minutes for questions. So please go ahead and ask questions. You can also ask questions about the future or your careers, how to make a career in AI ML. Okay, Neha has a question. How has AI been used in the financial sector? Could it be used to predict stock market, for instance? Okay, great question, Neha. Thank you for that. So let me tell you something that I learned by attending a conference. And I was attending a financial conference, and they made the statement that if you are trading with a mouse in your hand, you have already lost the battle. So that means previously people have come up with the idea of trading bots. In fact, they also are called automated high frequency trading. Automated high frequency trading, which is they can analyze the stock market and analyze micro patterns. So it's like human being takes some time to react, but they can check if the stock is rising, and in a microsecond they can buy like a million stocks, million shares here. And they have checked a micro trend, like the stock goes up like 1% or 0.5% maybe in a very fast period of time. So they will buy here and sell here with a very high frequency. So they're going to trade a million shares and buy it and sell it really fast. By the time a human being realizes that something is happening, they're already done the trading and you're too late to the party. So that's a good question. and it's being used widely. And if you look at people doing micro trading strategy, etc., you would see people do that. And that's a great question, because I didn't mention financial sector, and automated investing is one of them. There is also something, I mean, there are so many examples. Have you heard of the thing that automated advisor, automated financial advisor? So if you want to invest your money, there are two things. You can either have a actual financial advisor who is going to charge more, or you can tell to a financial advisor, you can answer their questions, like, the bot will ask you what is your aim, etc., and based on your answers it will give you a trading strategy. Okay, anybody else? Okay, Maitri has a question. Have you come across any situations, example in your experience so far, where AI has been used to aid environmental sustainability? That's a good question. Yes, definitely. So Google is using that in a big way. If you have read, they're buying huge amount of land in Texas, open fields, and they're setting up wind farms there. On wind farms, they're not just leaving it on and just hoping for wind to happen. So they are like predicting when high winds would happen, or when will there be high winds or high whatever, and what altitude they would be on, and they are predicting that, and they are especially then generating electricity based on that. Nishant has one more question. Do you think companies looking for AI grads care more about understanding math concepts or being able to apply tools right out of the box? Okay, to answer Nishant's question, there are two type of job profiles. One is like higher level, where you are looking for AI scientists. Another type of job opening that you might look at is called data engineers. So if you do a search right now, you will see that there are several type of AI positions. There's something called data engineer, and go look that up. That is going to be simply applying the things and coding them. There are also ML scientists and data scientists. Those are positions in which you need math knowledge and you need further deeper knowledge to apply. Sanjeev has a question. How can we as developers learn to make ethical decisions when it comes to building AI applications? In other words, how do we ensure we are building ethical applications for humanity? Okay, that's good point. And especially if you're using reinforcement learning. So there's this thing called reinforcement learning that we talked about. With reinforcement learning, the machine can get out of hand. With traditional ML, the machine will do a very specific job. It will do, like, classifying emails as spam or not spam. So it's kind of very restricted. I'm giving the machine, just do that, spam or no spam. So the machine cannot get out of hand because I have given it a very specific task. In reinforcement learning, your question is true, because in reinforcement learning, I do not control the machine. So it could happen that if I give too many choices to the RL, it could start acting against me. For example, if I have like a, I don't know, like a security system, or if I have a bot that cleans a house, how do you know that it's not going to do something bad? Because it's going to keep on learning, right? So if this kind of happens, there's a robo cleaner thing that goes around the room, um, cleans your carpet, etc. And what if you have some money that you lost, or money that you have under the carpet or under the couch, etc.? You lost some money there, it's going to start doing that. That's just a trivial example, but RL can get out of hand. So that's the answer to your question, Sanjeev. Next question was Nishant. Also, to add to financial concepts at work, we use some regression analysis to trade, but most of the high frequency trading is market making, ARB, so we don't use much there. Okay, so yeah, that's high frequency trading. And you can also have a robo advisor. So look that up, robo advisor. What is that? And robo advisors will ask you questions like, what is your investment aim? What type of investment do you want? A risky aim, or a non-risky, or a stable, or a growth, etc. And based on your answers, it will generate strategy for you. Generally less takes less fees than a physical or actual agent. Okay, any more questions? As I said, if you are more interested in details, more things, you want to talk more, sign up for one of my classes. I teach undergrad as well as graduate machine learning, big data courses. I teach one in computational methods for data scientists. So a bunch of them I teach, and you're welcome to sign up for any one of them. So I'll stop here. Anything else you want to add, Maitri?
No, I don't think so. Honestly, this was such a great introduction for, especially like for me. I honestly personally haven't gotten a chance to take like a full artificial intelligence or machine learning class yet, and it was just really nice to like get like the introduction and then go into examples. So thank you so much for taking the time for this. Honestly,
Mhm.
with this workshop, like we would love to have you back for future AIS events if you would be interested. But yeah, and I think our participants as well, as they've been saying in the comments, learn a lot from this. So thank you again. And I think if no one else has any questions, I think that's pretty much it.